Hello. I'm gonna make sure you're all muted so that we can, yep.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. So if you're looking for specific information about who I am, what we're doing today, you can check it out in the chat. Our moderator is going to be putting all of the information in there. So if you want to read a little bit about me, I know my screen name says KK. Those are my initials. I don't know why I couldn't figure out how to change my name on there. My name is Kelley. I'm an art therapist, and today we're going to be doing some mindful doodles, aka Zentangling. So I don't know if anyone has had prior experience with Zentangling, but I'm going to give you some basic intro, and then I would really love to encourage you to take it away and do your own creative thing with it. So we can get started. Yep, you got your pad and paper. I'm going to go over, the materials that you'll need and things like that. Hi. Even though all of you are encouraged to be muted, if anyone wants to have their video on, I love seeing faces, so hi. So that's kind of helpful for me. Like I said, my name is Kelley, so I think we should have a pretty good turnout today of people. I think we're at 25 maybe, but we were expecting closer to 40, so that's really exciting. Thank you all so much for joining me this morning, and I know there's rain coming down in multiple places, and hopefully all of your power stays on. And the good thing is all we need is the essentials, the basics of paper, pencils, ultra fine Sharpies. We're good. We don't have to worry too much about it. All right, so as I'm talking about materials, let me just go over some of those things. And if you do have other things that you want to use, you can go ahead and grab those. But basically, I always say starting with a number 2 pencil. That's the easiest. If you have, where is my ultra fine Sharpies? Those are wonderful to have. If you don't have that, sometimes I use these, what are they? Like just precise other different kinds of pens that have an ultra fine point. I don't know if you can see that. Something like that. All works the same. If you ever are interested in buying, like an official Zentangle kit, they do promote very specialized Zentangle pens and things like that, but it's really not necessary. It's up to you. And then I do always have on hand just like a regular Sharpie, just in case, if you want to color in background, shading, things like that. And then if you want to add little pops of color at some point for details later on in the process, gel pens are always really fun to have. So they sell them in neons, primary colors, glitter, whatever you'd like. Not only gel pens that are fun to add in the pops of color, but even if you wanted to have or use later the watercolor pencils, so you could get the really fine details with the pencils and then go back over with a wet paintbrush. We're not going to do that today, but that's if you want to do some Zentangling on your own and then adding those extras to it. So I personally have been doing Zentangling, I don't know, for over 10 years. I'm not a Zentangle instructor, but I've been doing it a really long time, and I've been helping people and facilitating different activities. So I can say just for myself, as many times as I've done Zentangling, I've never created the same tangles, as they're called, or designs. So the options are limitless. So a couple of other things that I wanted to say is about the paper. So I know I put in my list of materials to bring today is like a heavier weight paper. If you have it, great. If you don't, it's okay. Something else I like to do is reuse old cards, you know, so having a card like this, it has a really nice heavy weight to it. I have just other like thank you cards and things like that that I've used. And if you don't, and if you want to use the thank you cards, you can also use the envelopes. The envelopes are usually a nice heavy weight, right? So you can kind of reuse old things that we're not going to make use for anymore, and better than throwing them in the trash, right? So, okay. A couple of other things that I just want to review before we dive into the actual process is that then doing these, I like to call them mindful doodles, because when we doodle regularly, do you ever like sit on the phone while you're waiting on hold, and everyone usually does like an eyeball or the transparent cube, right? And we do it over and over and over again. And so sometimes doodling is kind of mindless. It tries to, you know, wash away time or occupy time. But what we're trying to do when we're engaging in the mindful doodles is to almost feel effortless, timeless, you know, not really aware of selflessness, right? Kind of just, we're not having that frustration of when, like I said, we're waiting for something and just, come on, let's get the time going. We really want to embrace the opportunity and the process and the time. So it's very intentional. You also will notice that through the materials that I just shared with you, there are no erasers. You know, so that's really a key component to doing things like this, is that there's no mistake that will happen. If you know, a line goes not the way that you intended, we reframe it and use it as an opportunity to then build from there. So it just becomes a new pattern, you know, so that's really key. I know sometimes people have the urge or the desire to erase and go back and redo. Nope, we're just going to accept it as it is, let it be. It might be difficult, but that's one of the benefits of it as well. So the Zentangle method is just really a way to create beautiful images with structured patterns. So that's also the calming aspect to it, is that there's a lot of repetition, but then it balances the opposite of flow, flexibility. So while there's structure, there's flexibility. While there's repetition, there's you know, spontaneity as well. So it can be really easy to learn. Like I said, it's the basics. It's fun, relaxing. Sometimes people use it as a way to manage like problem solving, you know, because we're not starting with a blank canvas. We're finding ways to work on smaller areas and then building from there, which is kind of what we do in a problem solving strategy as well. It's like, I have this problem, how can I break it down and make it more manageable? So, and then also looking at different ways to manage stress or anxiety. So in this time, like I said in my little description there, in this time of uncertainty, there's a lot of, you know, feelings that are coming up, and we like to have an idea of what to expect, right? Usually when you sit down and do a painting, you know, like, this is my subject. In terms of using the doodling, the mindful doodling, we really are looking at a way of like, we don't know what to expect. We don't know how it's going to turn out. And so embracing some of that uncertainty of kind of like, ooh, this might be a fun adventure, you know, to just explore and see what comes of it. So it really reinforces that being present and mindful in the moment. Okay. So how can I get you started? I do have a couple of little examples of things that I've created in the past. Traditionally, Zentangles are made on 3.5 square pieces of paper. That's not necessary. Sometimes people will make them on circular paper, something larger. I've seen people do them on walls, you know, so it really doesn't matter. But the traditional method created by two people, Rick and Maria, they usually talk about these 3.5 square cards. So anyway, these are some of my tangles that I've created in the past. Like I said, I've created different patterns as I go all the time. And so this is another one. This one's kind of unfinished, but what it really is very cool too to think about just the definition, the word Zentangle. Those are even opposites, things that are very zen, calm, relaxing, and then tangles, right? Complicated, messy. But this is a way of creating these structured patterns that look really difficult, but if you remember that it's just one stroke at a time, it can be very relaxing and comforting. So are you ready to get started? Yes. Okay. We have a piece of paper, and the first, well, before you do anything, the first step of doing this is to get comfortable, appreciate what we have, appreciate this moment, the materials that are in front of us. Maybe take a few deep breaths just to get centered in this moment. You don't have to worry about what happened last night, what's going to happen later today. So just give ourselves that opportunity to invite gratitude and appreciation for this experience for yourself, but also as a collective altogether. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do on your blank piece of paper is you are going to put 4 dots, 1 in each corner. 4 dots, 1 in each corner. I don't know if you can see them. Just faint dots with your pencil. If you're working in a art tablet, an artist pad or something like that, you can, you know, fold it in half, fold it in quarters, however you want. But as long as the piece of paper is a manageable size, you don't want anything too big just for this session. So that's step number 1, pretty simple, putting 4 dots in the corner. And what we want to do is we want to create a border, okay? So your border is going to connect the dots, and you're going to use your pencil very lightly to connect them. Your frame, your border, does not have to be so straight. So please don't use a ruler or anything like that. You want it to be a little bit more organic and natural. So however you want it to be. You can even kind of make like a fancy like point in the corner if you wanted to, something like that. Up to you. If you want to make it a little bit, you know, unique. It can be straight or curvy, just to create some sort of square to connect those 4 dots. So the next part that is called string, you're going to add what looks like a piece of yarn or string or thread has fallen on your paper. So there's so many different ways to do this. I'm going to show you the one string design that I chose to use just for this model, but there are many different ways to create a string. So I have an example of a variety of them. This is a curve, if you want to do something like that to create a section. So this is the part of what I was telling you about when you start with something big and then you put it into more manageable spaces, right? So we have either a curve that you can do to create a string. Here's a wave. I chose to do the bounce for today. So it's kind of like a line comes down and pew, a little bouncing ball there. The next one would be a loop, and that's an open loop. Here's a closed loop, and so you can see it's starting to create smaller and smaller sections, right? It's, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 sections over there. And the last one would be an X. You can also see how that breaks up the space. So you choose whatever you want. Totally up to you, however you want to manage that space. Like I said, I chose for my demonstration today to do the bounce. So the next phase that we're going to do after we have the bounce, right, or after we have the string, we're going to get into some tangles. So I am going to teach you, I think, 3 or maybe 4 basic tangles. But I also want to use a portion of this this workshop to give you a little bit of time to do your own creative things. So maybe if time allows, we'll just work like independently for maybe 10 minutes at the most, just to give you that chance to, you know, use me as like a springboard, and then you can jump off and do whatever you'd like in your own fun. So the first one that I'm going to show you, the first pattern, is they sometimes call it like a turtle's back, but really it's like a half moon shape, a semicircle. So what I chose to do is put those semicircles all around the top portion of my bounce, right, of my string bounce. And so you'll see, you know, that's a very repetitive pattern. This is also very important. As you're making your patterns, you always want your hand to be in a relaxed position. So it's very encouraged for you to rotate your paper as you're moving. You don't want to be doing curves and put tightness in your wrist, right? So that's the whole idea of being fun and relaxing and creative with this, is to just be really aware that your wrist always wants to stay in a relaxed position. So as you're going around and making these repetitive patterns, start to rotate and move your paper around. So now you're probably thinking like, okay, that's pretty simple. You know, like, why is this, you know, so popular? That seems pretty simple. So what we can do then is we start to develop more and more details. We start very simple and then we kind of keep going, right? So what I did, and I'm going to introduce and give you some time, but what I did is I went and filled in all of those turtles' backs, yes. I filled them all in. And that's an opportunity for you. It's totally your choice. Do you want to stick with your ultra fine Sharpie? Do you want to fill it in with maybe a thicker Sharpie? Up to you. Is this the point where you want to add in the pops of color? That's fine too. Now, tangles are really described as a predefined sequence of simple strokes that make a pattern. So there are definitely, like I said, this is called turtle's back. There's things called paradox and bales, all different types of predetermined or predefined simple patterns that you can use. So you would really want to make sure that you're not worrying about like, well, where is this going to go? And how is this going to look? And am I doing this right? None of that. We're just really focusing on the present moment and each stroke of the pen that you make. And you'll want to just trust yourself. Trust that you'll know what to do next. Okay. So after you maybe have chosen to color in some of the half circles, right, the half semicircles, I chose to go back in and do what's called an aura. This is also another term that is used when you're adding those details. So I chose to go back in and put an aura around all of those colored in shapes. Now, I am only speaking for myself. I find that to be so relaxing. Just doing this, like, I almost start to count like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, it's kind of just nice. Okay, sure, no problem. This is the pattern. You can see even mine, it's not perfect. We're trying to move away from perfection and exactness. This is really where it honors that idea of flow and something a little bit more organic in the moment. It's kind of different from traditional art, right? Because it can be viewed in any orientation. You know, maybe sometimes abstract art can be viewed in different orientations, but most things have a, you know, a top, a bottom, a left, a right. You know, this is kind of just any way that you want it to be. Okay. Once you, add on the auras, you might also start to notice that in that negative space, in the middle, it might start to take on its own shape. So I'm just going to show you, this is kind of almost completed, but at one point doing the pattern there, it started to take on its own shape. After I did, 3 or 4 rows of the aura, then this negative space just was kind of cool. So I started just repeating an outline there, going around and around. Again, just emphasizing unplanned. Just see what happens. As much as I encourage people to be surprised, I'm always in for the big surprise, right? So I have no idea where you guys are going with this, and that's like one of the most exciting parts. So I wonder if there's some way after this that you could submit your completed Zentangles. I don't know. I'll have to ask. Just something that was put in the chat. I don't know if you also saw it, but it says if you only want to see me, you can select speaker view in the upper corner, or you can, have the whole gallery view to see everyone that's participating. Up to you. Okay. Oh, cool. See, I'm getting a little sneak peek. Ah! Very cool. Okay. Okay. So this is what I have showed you so far, the turtle's back, the aura, and then following the aura and then creating another pattern. So let's move on to maybe our next design. And this is something that's called, wait, hold on one second. Okay, gotcha. They changed my name. Yay, thank you. So this is something that's called railroad tracks. It really is a series of parallel lines. Let me see. So hold on, I'm going to erase something just for a second. Okay. Okay. So I chose to do this in the lower corner of my area there. And this, like, see how they're just layered on top of each other. So again, no right or wrong way, but ways of making these parallel lines that do look like railroad tracks. And so following along, and if the line is broken, then you just pick up your pen and follow it again, almost this illusion that they're on top of each other, overlapping. I'll just hold it up a little bit longer there. It's kind of fun to play with the widths as well. You can make them really narrow, medium, broad, whatever you want. Okay. And you can always go back. This is another thing that is suggested. If you do get, you know, kind of distracted in a moment, if you just want to take a break and walk away, it's usually recommended to, I'm going to show you, stop almost midline like that. You see how I made an aura there, but I stopped? It's usually recommended so you know right where to pick back up again. So almost intentionally leaving it unfinished so that you know exactly where to go back. So as I'm encouraging you to do that, I'm going to, Okay. As I'm encouraging you to do that, I'm going to shift to teach you another design, another pattern, tangle. This one is called poke root, and it is inspired by berries that are found in nature. If you ever want to Google poke root, you can, you'll see them. It's like a clump of berries on a vine. So what the pattern is very simply making, I'm going to show you on a larger piece of paper, making two parallel lines, but they don't have to be straight. They can be curved, something like that. And almost making like a upside down, yeah, I guess a frown, you would say, on top of it, something like that. And then finishing it up with a bubble that goes all the way around. So kind of showing you two here, just so you can see. There they are. Two lines or curved lines, a little frowny thing, and then a bubble. And that is called poke root. If you look up poke root, you'll see the little fruit that looks exactly like that. So I did those, a series of them in my other area, you know, like in the other zone over here, and just kind of naturally, organically piling them on top of each other. Kind of looks like they're growing one from another, and just repeating that. And you'll see again, I have one that's unfinished, so I know exactly where to pick back up again. Some might really start to look like cherries, you know, some might look a little squished. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Mushrooms.
Yes, a little bit like that. Yep, they do. Can have them going in different directions, you know, coming from the side, coming from the top. If they overlap, that's cool. Different sizes. So like I said, I just wanted to teach you a variety of things, and then you can, you know, finish the sections on your own. One more, I figured I'll just throw it in there, but it was just probably something I did last minute. After I had the 3 basic designs, I still had this little section here to fill something in. So I went in, and this is where you'll see the little inclusion of the pop of color. So I went in and added these just kind of cubes with auras around them. And then I put a little border of just circles, colored them in a little bit. Kind of just made it up. Something fun. So hopefully you're already starting to see how this lends itself to creativity, right? There's no right, there's no wrong. If you wanted to even put a whole border around the border that you made, you can do that. Sometimes I've seen double borders, you know, whatever you'd like to do. So up to you. But that was kind of my next thing. So I want to get to the next step. Step 6, believe it or not, is shading. So this is where you can bring back your number 2 pencil. If you have favorite drawing pencils, you can use those, maybe like something softer like a 6 or something like that, something that can really blend nicely. So I usually encourage people, if you want to use a smudging stick, you can, just to get those fine details and those little areas, that's fine. If you don't have that, using a tissue or something like that is also fine. It works. Yes, I agree. Okay. Okay, so for the shading, I'm gonna first show you what to do next to the railroad tracks. So what you're going to do is shade on the top, the ones that are on the top, you know, on the forefront. And then it'll give it some extra depth and dimension there. I'm gonna just show you because I'm adding it right now. So I only put it on the ones that are on top. Adding a little bit of pencil along the sides of the railroad tracks that are on the topmost layer. And then when you go in and smudge it, it gives it that extra dimension, a little bit more value to it. A little bit more contrast. Of course, it's totally your choice if you want to keep everything in the black and white, if you want to add the charcoal pencil for those dimensions of gray, that's up to you. Graphite pencil. This is where you could do the colored watercolor pencils. You could do that.
Kelley, have you ever tried the graphite watercolor pencils?
I have not. Graphite watercolor pencils? No.
Yes, they are fabulous.
Oh, I'm going to have to write that down. I have not. Do you have a specific brand that you like?
I have the box for it, but okay, it is Faber-Castell.
Okay.
The set comes in HB to 8B,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes with its own paintbrush.
Ooh, very nice.
And I have this little itty bitty cup that I keep with the pencils, and I put a drop of water in it, and you can use that for shading.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm sure they sell them on any, you know, big website.
Blick has them and Plaza Arts has them.
Yeah.
Blick Arts and Plaza Arts both have them.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's something to explore as well. So the next tip that I'm going to introduce to you is usually saved for the end. Oh yeah, someone had just asked if you could put the information for the graphite watercolor pencils in the chat. If you could put the name in there, that'd be great. So the last, one of the last steps is usually when you want to, you know, wrap it up and put your seal on it, right? So this is where you get to be creative as well, and you're going to initial or sign your Zentangle, and this gives you that opportunity for pride and a sense of ownership. But I want you to think of maybe a unique way, like a unique monogram. So the one that I have created is just all the layers of my the letters of my name layered on top of each other. So that's my signature there. It says Kelley. That's my way of kind of putting my little stamp on it. Sometimes on the back of your Zentangle tile, if you want to write your name, maybe the date, maybe any observations of what it felt like to do something like this. Were you accomplishing being mindful in the present moment? Did you notice distractions? Did you feel that sense of excitement or fun as you were going along? Maybe you even want to give it a name. It's up to you.
Could I see what you did in the center of a couple of things, just holding them up for a second?
Of this one in particular? You mean? Okay.
Yeah. A little bit further back, please.
A little bit further back.
There we go.
So I put just some dots and dashes and filled some things in. Oh yeah, and then I added that little pop of color on the stems of the poke root and shaded behind them.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, I'm getting a sneak peek. Anita, maybe a little closer to the camera. Over to you. We only see your hand. Pull it over right into in front of your web. There you go. Right in front of the camera. Cool. Oh, neat. Look at that. Okay. So this is actually the final step. After you've put your initial on it, your own special creative monogram, we want to come full circle. And in the beginning, we took that moment to appreciate and get in that centered space of feeling grateful for the moment. Now, what you want to do to wrap it up is you're going to hold your tile arm's length in front of you, turn it around, and just take that moment to appreciate it. I made that. I did that. Just taking in what you've created. With no plan, hopefully. I know it takes practice to let go of expectations or plans, but hopefully you were really able to be in that moment. So I'm just being aware of time. We have about 15 minutes left, and I wanted to share with you some ideas that I have for like furthering you know, your exploration of this. So let me just read what's in the chat here really quickly. Oh, here we go. Our moderator said, everyone be sure to share your art with us using social media. The details are above. Okay. And there's some other information, so if you don't mind taking a moment to read the chat before you leave the meeting. So, like I said, some of the options for further exploration were doing those different shading, adding pops of color, also scratch art paper. Ooh, we're gonna have like a big reveal. Okay. Also doing scratch art paper. So I just have a mini tile, but if anyone doesn't know what scratch art paper, it has a black overlay, and underneath it might be colored, it might be rainbow, it could be a glitter pattern underneath, but it's really cool to use they're called just wooden scratchers, and you scratch away that top layer and reveal that. So that's really a fun option as well, using some scratch art paper. Some of the other things that I would suggest, if you like doing this and you want to invite a friend or a partner to do a partner process, you know, maybe working on different sections, taking turns. If you want to work on a larger piece of paper, you could work simultaneously, but doing a partner process is kind of cool. Even if you work separately on your own, but at the same time, you know, kind of just sharing that meditative space is really a cool experience too. So like I said in the beginning, you could also do it on circle-shaped paper. If anyone knows what mandalas are, they kind of, you know, have a similar feel, a little bit more math involved and balance and things like that in mandalas. But if you did a circle piece of paper, it would be like a Zentangle. The other thing I love to see people do is when we were doing the border and the string, people have chosen to do their initials, you know, maybe the first letter of your name, and to do different patterns within those sections. Even if you did a straight, you know, a thin line for your name, but you could also do block lettering as well. Maybe if there's a certain word that you want to remind yourself of, you know, breathe or mindful, and do some patterns inside of the word or around the word and leave the word blank. Up to you. I've also seen people do an animal outline or a landscape. That's a little bit advanced, but I think you could do it. So I really just wanted to give you kind of the basics today. So like I said, that you can carry this on and do your own thing later. But I would like to use this. We have just about 10 more minutes left. I would like to use some of the time to have a show and tell, kind of. If you want to share exactly the patterns that you created, that's fine. If you came up with your own unique pattern, that's cool. If you just want to talk about what the experience was like, did you notice yourself being able to relax, where maybe sometimes your mind is busy and that's difficult for you? Did you notice any judgments that came up? We can talk about that too, right? It doesn't have to be this ideal experience. Sometimes the judgments pop in there. We just also want to acknowledge, you know, that comes with practice. The more and more you practice letting go of those expectations, the more likely you are to decrease any of that criticism or judgmental responses to things. So. Someone asked if there are good introductory books to this approach. If you want to check out the creators, Rick and Maria, Zentangle.com, just, you don't even need a book. They have links to little videos. You know, they give you very detailed instructions. So I would go straight to the source, the originators. The cats are welcome. She wants to join in. But yes, I would definitely suggest that if you just go straight to the originator's website. They have a lot of simple instructions, other ideas. You'll see some of the specific tangles that they have developed. Like I said, what are some of the names? There's a really cool one called Diva Dance and Betweed, Bales, Tortuga, all the different kinds of stuff. So you'll see them on there. It's really cool. So would you like to use any of this time? I know some of you still have your cameras off, and that's absolutely fine. You can share as little or as much as you want, but I'd love to see. Thank you so much. Yay. Awesome. Okay. Oh, someone's jumping in. Look at the color. So cool. See, this is the big part of the surprise for me.
Oh, hold it up again.
Yeah, if we can see some of them. Oh, look at that. That's totally unique. You did your own thing. Is shading on the railroad lines always on the outside lines? Usually it's on the topmost layer, so it gives you that dimension, like a little bit of that pop. Very cool. Look at that shading in the background. Like you colored it in, Vanessa. That's so cool. Ooh, and you did the closed loop thread. Very cool. Let me pop over here. Awesome. Oh, I see it. Oh, so different. Oh my gosh. Yay. I love that. Shannon, I can see. Oh, you had it on yellow paper. Very cool. Very cool. Excellent. Would anybody be open to talking about what the experience was like, or something that you noticed? How might you be able to see it's beneficial? I think you can unmute yourselves. Sure.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I noticed, prior to this, I was in severe pain. It was like I almost didn't want to do anything today because I had a whole set of things which I had planned. The pain was so immense that I just said, forget it. I don't want to do anything. But I knew that this class was coming up when I got a alarm buzzing, and I said, now next what? So I just said, give it a try, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I've really enjoyed the process, and there's no thought of the uncomfortable sensation that I've had. Like I was in bed since afternoon. It's evening time here. It's nearly 8:30 in the night here. So I've been in the bed since afternoon, and it's always like I just said, no, I'm not going to do anything. But the whole process was very relaxing and
Wonderful.
very comforting. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. I work in usually in clinical settings as an art therapist, and you're absolutely right. I have shared this method for people using it for pain management. I've worked in addictions programs, people using it for phobias. Like I said, even workplace burnout. I've done things with corporate events and things like that. And it's really just a way of kind of giving yourself that little vacation, that break from whatever it might be, whether it's emotional pain, physical pain, to give yourself that opportunity to distract and self-soothe in the moment. Sure. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Go ahead, Steve and Monica.
Okay. I just wanted to say real quick that I've been doing a few different classes over the last few months, and this has helped so much with my anxiety, and I couldn't figure out why. And then this morning when you just said that it helps with letting go of control because you don't know how it's going to come out, that was kind of like my aha moment of, now I figured out why this is helping.
That's it. That's right. Our anxiety is rooted in wanting to know exactly what comes next, what to expect. That's comforting. I understand that. And yet we want to find that balance of having control, but also that, you know, play, exploration, unexpected, you know, what's to come next. So good. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hopefully you'll continue to do it and just develop so many different patterns on your own. That is really
Yes.
cool. Yes. And not for nothing, because the materials are so basic. Oh, let me see. Oh, so neat. Look at that. You kind of put them all together. Look at that. Wow,
Yeah, my
there's that.
problem is the cats. I
What's
was all
that?
nice and relaxed until the cats decided to help.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. I love that border that you had made, Renee, like all the way around the loop. That's so cool. And I was going to say it's also something because the basics that we have, the materials are so simplistic. You know, art is usually pretty universal. So this is something that is free of age. It could be kids to older adults, anyone. There's no specific language barrier, right? No politics, religion involved, none of that. It's just simple pen to paper, you know, so kind of keeping it really comforting and inviting, universal. It's a great way. This is another thing I wanted to just point out, because it usually is on the 3.5 square pieces of paper. It's something that's totally portable. If you want to keep a little pouch with you in your car, in your purse, whatever it might be, finding yourself in a place where maybe anxiety pops up, or you just want to, you know, dive in and do something creative, yeah, you have your pouch with you. Something, you can keep it next to your bed, whatever you want. But because it's only a few materials, say 3 or 4 items, you can put those in a pouch and carry them with you, and little. You might want to make a little visual journal, a whole bunch of different Zentangle patterns going on. So, Charlene, I see that you're unmuted. Did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Oh, just I found it very meditative and very relaxing, and there's a healing property to it, a healing quality to it.
There is, very much so. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to get into that space. That's wonderful. And someone had asked earlier, I don't know where it went, but if there's other things that I do, you can check me out on our, I work in a group practice, Sage House, so you can check me out there. I do some other, you know, individual sessions. I work with groups. I work for corporate events as well. So yeah, lots of different things. And I think our website, we are also on like other social media sites like Twitter and all of that. Oh, thank you. Twitter and Instagram, Sage House is where we're at. So yes, very good. I hope you all enjoy your day. I know it's raining, but this might be something to do to occupy your day. You're so welcome. Thank you all. Thank you for participating. Yay!
Thank you.
Definitely fun. Would have been more fun without the cats, though.
Everyone's
Walking
invited.
across my face.
All invited. Oh, Janice, you have yourself unmuted. Did you want to say something before we go?
I just wanted to say thank you. Yeah.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I hope you have enjoyed all of the Artomatic workshops, and then enjoy some more. I know one of our other therapists, Emily, is doing something next week, I believe. So you might want to check hers out as well. So thank you all. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.